Guten Tag. Yeah, I'm still in my sophisticated businessman disguise. So it's me. Just watched, this is a shout out to Bitbop Boom, or Hip Hop Boombox. What a great channel. I'm really enjoying digging back through, your past videos at the moment, John. And I saw one from about 4 years ago where you were showing off a lot of heavy metal records and how you were disappointed with the way things were going in that genre, genre. There's only one. I've never been in the heavy metal. I was briefly, and about the time you're talking about. That's why I'm responding. See, I'm not a fanboy. I'm not a collector. I'm none of that. I'm not that at all. I've never been that. If I like something, I like it. That's all. And so I like all sorts of music. And after a certain age, it's all academic, If you asked me at 14 what was the best record you ever heard, I'd say Mrs. Brown, You Got a Lovely Daughter by Herman's Hermits. Well, yeah, maybe. But yeah, I could see the disappointment, and I understand what you're talking about because you're probably about the same age as my mate James. We both worked in the photo studio together, and I turned him on to, Husker Du and stuff like that, which I was heavily into in the 80s. That was my band. But the thrash thing, I sort of really like thrash, like Husker Du with thrash, Well, Bob Mould was. Grant Hart's a bit more gentler than that, but that's why Husker Du was so great. You had the yin and yang thing going there. Yeah, top of my head, just like your vid was. Just thinking about it, and yeah, the thrash thing. Yeah, Rain in Blood. Now that's you were using that as some sort of template thing in your video, and I know what you're talking about. To me, as a non-believer in metal, just as a dilettante, someone that dips in and out when the mood takes them, which is not very often these days, I consider there are only two classic heavy metal albums, and in my interpretation of heavy metal, and that's all I would ever need. And I've got them here. I'm not going to show. I haven't got many, but I can't be bothered looking for them. I've got one out. There are two albums I will keep as representative of the heavy metal genre. And number one to me is South of Heaven, Slayer. And number two is Master of Puppets, Metallica. And they sort of roughly came out at the same time, I think. Mid-80s, something like that. To be honest, I preferred Jesus and Mary Chain to... But see, that's not so different from that thrash thing. You think about it, you could easily put Jesus and Mary Chain Psycho Candy gig into a heavy metal crowd that never heard of them, and they'd probably get off on it. Well, they might have gotten off it at the time. But yeah, those two are what I consider classic heavy metal. They've actually, and both of those albums actually have You know, okay, let's just say here's from the old school heavy metal. What do I consider the best old school heavy metal album from the early 1970s? Well, I have to say Master of Reality, Black Sabbath. That's what started it all. Not the first album and not the second. But the third one. Yeah, I bought them all as they came out. We gave up after the third one. But that one just was like, oh, this is completely different. It was, you have to put yourself back there. Well, you can't. You probably weren't, well, you were born, but you were probably in nappies, you know. But Master of Reality, not a very well recorded album, but that doesn't matter too much. But that one was a real game changer. That took it to another level, and they never really equaled it again. You know, it was sort of over by the time Volume 4 came out. And I'm going through changes. Doo, doo, doo. Oh, Christ. But yeah, that album is pretty much immaculate, I reckon. So my three, what I would call favourite heavy metal records would be Master of Reality, Black Sabbath, um, South of Heaven, Slayer, and Master of Puppets, Metallica. And there's not much else, in my opinion. Yeah, the funny thing was, when I was into that, I was already in my mid-30s, mid to late 30s. And my mate James, he was like early 20s, so it was the right age group for him. But we got on really well because, like, we're both eclectic in it. He was open. I turned him on to stuff like Whisker Du and that, and he turned me on to, well, actually turned him on to the heavy metal shit. I'm the one that started that. I brought in a Metallica. Was it no the other one? Dave Mustaine that used to be in Metallica, whatever his band was called. I got one of those. I had Nuclear Assault, that band. I think they were German or something like that. Or, you know, I had a lot of those one-off, you know, early Anthrax, all that shit. I actually turned him onto that shit. But then he, like you, Mr. Bippity Boppity Boo, he gets complete. He's got a massive record collection. I haven't seen him for years. He got married and had kids, and that was the end of it. But he he once he hones in on something, he goes for it. He's a collector. He's got to have it all. And I'm not. I'm a dilettante. You know, I dip my toe in, and when the water gets too cold, I'd wander off somewhere else. But yeah, he got really into it. And the first Voivod album, I'd also consider. I don't consider it heavy metal so much. It is, but it's punky. It's punky heavy metal. I don't know. I got War and Pain, their first album here, and Raw, the second one. Raw, the second one's pretty good too. That's just pure thrash. That's a great thrash album. I prefer that to Rain in Blood. Rain in Blood, everyone's going, Rain in Blood, Rain in Blood. I've got it, but I just thought, nah, they'd lost it already. Like he was saying in your video 4 years ago. Yeah, it was like, uh-oh, something's changed here. But say, less is better. It's better to be happy that you have one classic album from at least one classic album from each of those bands you like. I'm very lucky in that. You know, Slayer, um, South of Heaven to me is a masterpiece. But anyway, yeah. But I'm showing my. This is the one that I got into it with. This Shona Murphy, Slayer. And this is the one I used to turn James on to this sort of stuff. When he got on, he just went ape shit with it. But it's just so funny to see Slayer as really young and sort of slightly amateurish, but that's half the attraction. And yeah, this is on Roadrunner. Yes. This, in some ways, this is, I think, this is probably really my favourite heavy metal album ever. It's just got all the right ingredients. Yeah. 1983. Dave Lombardo drums. That's, man, oh man, that guy, holy crap, he's the best thrash, heavy metal, call it what you want, drummer of them all. And they were never the same. Well, they weren't the same anyway. But when Dave Lombardo left Slayer, oh man, I've got most of their 80s and 90s output on CDs here. I do play them. Like if the neighbours are pissing me off, I just whack it in the Discman and turn it up full blast just to use it to block it out, block out the noise. But there's, yeah, but I'm not very, I haven't had much sleep. But yeah, I'm just saying that the video was really, really interesting. Seeing and the way you were picking up these albums and saying, yeah, but I'm not saying the music's bad. And every time you said it, I thought, well, actually, you are saying oh, it's so funny. Oh yeah, a guy I work with, a Greek guy, John. He was so into heavy metal. That was his whole life, and he got married and had kids, but he was still trying to relive it. Like he on Facebook or something, he'd be going off to see one of the bands he'd loved in it from his youth, and now they're all got beer guts and they're balding, and he's going the same way, but they still go along to the concerts, and that you can still there's still that enthusiasm. I find that really lovable in heavy metal fans. Like their devotion, misplaced, of course, but never. They're like loyal puppies. Um, yeah. Look, if someone was to say the only music you'd ever listen to ever again is heavy metal, I could live with that easily. If they said rap, I'd say shoot me now, please. Um, so it's just that I also considered certain um, um, heavy metal. In some ways, it's like modern classical music. It's so diverse and there's so many variants on it. It's such a huge field that you know you dive in. I suppose I just dip my toe in it, but so I'm happy. Just just a long way around to say um, nothing much really. Um, what is it? That Satan thing they do? See, and oh, hang on, that's peace signs. Well, what's the devil thing? Oh well, what the hell? My eggs don't smell.